Hello and welcome back to ScorpioTech. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Yakumo MA87M keyboard from Varmilo. Before we get stuck in, I'd love to invite you all to come and check out our Discord server to chat about all things tech and gaming. The link to that is down in the description. So Varmilo brand themselves as keyboard artists, as shown on the packaging, and they offer a wide range of fantastic keyboard designs from 110% keyboards right the way down to 20% keyboards. There are many great themed keyboards on their website to suit any person and setup, so it's definitely worth checking out, but let's find out if it's actually any good. This particular model is an 80% board featuring Varmilo's newest EC-V2 switches, which means electrostatic capacitive for us nerds out there. This basically means there's no physical connection needed for the key to actually trigger. This also means they are extremely sensitive, but fast, very stable, and technically have a much longer or even infinite lifespan compared to the standard mechanical switches. And I honestly think this is a really interesting concept, and I was really excited to try them out. As we just saw, the board comes with a nice and simple wire keycap puller and also a cable, which unfortunately for me is probably the keyboard's biggest drawback. The included cable is USB Type A to mini USB, which I honestly thought was long gone by now. It is much more common these days for keyboards to use a USB Type C connection, which unfortunately means that I can't use my custom coil cable with the keyboard either, without buying any kind of adapter, so I'm really not sure what the thinking behind this choice is. However, I don't know about you, but I think this keyboard looks absolutely incredible. I personally chose the Yakumo themed keyboard as it fits with practically any colour scheme that I want to go for in the future, but if you do have a specific coloured gaming setup or room, then there is most likely a theme on their website for you. On the other hand though, these keyboards aren't cheap either. This particular 80% keyboard comes in at $143 or roughly £105. So on the back of the Yakumo board we can see that the mini USB connection is in a central position with channeling running to the left, right and central positions to give you options in terms of how you set it up. But as I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to use a coiled cable with this keyboard you may run into some issues. As well as this, there are some adjustable rubberized feet on the bottom of the keyboard to ensure that it doesn't slip around when in use. Moving on to the front of the board, the keycaps are made from 1.3mm PBT and actually have a really nice texture to them when typing. Before we take a closer look at the switches, let's have a listen to how it sounds. I'm personally a big fan of how the keyboard sounds. The switches are incredibly smooth and satisfying to type with, and for this keyboard I chose to go with Varmilo's EC Daisy V2 switches. Now these switches are linear and they have a very light 35g actuation force and can be pressed in extremely easily. I've also noticed that I've accidentally typed things before whilst resting my hand on the keyboard, so it might be wise to choose their Sakura V2s which have a 45g actuation force, or even their Rose V2s which have a 55g actuation force, but of course this always comes down to preference. I personally picked the Daisy V2 switches mainly because I've never used a board with such light switches before and I was intrigued to know how they both performed and sounded. The main benefit of this is either with general office work or prolonged gaming sessions that there's reduced force, meaning you should have less fatigue on your fingers, but I've personally never found this an issue anyway. One thing I can't deny though is that these switches are incredibly stable and have little or no movement at all, making for a very enjoyable typing experience. Something else I didn't realise to start with is that the keyboard also features white backlighting, but as the keycaps don't have any shine through, I personally don't see the need for it, but I've got to admit, once I figured out how to turn the lights on, I can't for the life of me turn them off again, so if anyone could help with that, that would be great. Saying that, I am a big fan of the lettering and overall design of the keycaps, especially with the 3 monochrome tones. I've been using this keyboard as my main board for the past month now, and I've got to admit that typing on this thing is an absolute pleasure. The switches feel incredibly smooth and the keycaps are very solid, so not many complaints there. As always, the links to the product are down below, and if you have any questions feel free to let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you all in the next video.